What up, dogs? Chris checking in with another Patreon tutorial here. Today I'm going to show you how I base my iron jaws for my new Age of Sigmar project. It's this really nice, arid, dry, dusty sand base. Dead easy to do, barely any paint, so let's do it. So here's my iron jaws mega boss, nothing on his base. I've got some activator, some army painted cork bits, and a mix of fine and coarse sand. You can buy this from any pet shop and get it in various grits and kind of chunks. So I do a mix of more fine to probably 2/3 fine to 1/3 big chunky coarse, whatever the word is. Pop some super glue down in random sporadic patches on your base. Then I'm going to take some of our cork from Army Painter or wherever you get your cork from. I shred it into slightly smaller chunks than you get in the box because they're quite big, and then I pop it in the middle of these random patches of super glue. These are just to add a bit of texture and a bit of niceness and interest to the base. So spread these out, less is better than more. And yeah, this base is huge, so it makes sense for us to kind of utilise that space and that real estate and get some interest on there. So before that super glue dries, I'm then going to gently dunk him into my sand. As you can see, I gently coax the sand on there instead of whisking the base about because I don't want to lose those bits of cork. This means the glue dries super quick because of how fine the sand is, and it also gives that really nice variation of texture from the big bits of cork to the fine sand. Now we're going to pop some paste down. We've got a Grelin Badlands here. So all I'm going to do is load up this scatty old brush and do this over the blank bits of the base. So I'll do anywhere between 1/3, maybe a half of the base with this, and then we go in with another texture paint just to add a little bit more varied texture. You can do this in various levels of thickness. You can do it quite thin in some places, quite thick in some places. The finish will then vary based on how fast it dries. I also find with these texture paints, if you leave the model to dry on a radiator or applying heat to it, they dry a lot quicker obviously, but you also get a more accentuated finish, so the Grelin Earth will get more cracks. This will get more of a kind of chalky finish, more of a gritted texture. It's cool, I like it. So yeah, take it for a spin and see how you feel. So as you can see, I'm just randomly popping this here and there. The aim of, by the time it comes to prime this model, is to have no black bits of the base showing. As I said, I'm using a scatty old brush. Use a brush you don't care about, one that's long dead, just to push this stuff about, because it will ruin your nice brushes. Do not use expensive brushes to do this. That'll do. Up next, we've got some Grelin Earth. So this is the crackle paint version of the one I just used. So I'm going to use this to fill in the remaining spots. So I'm going to make sure it hits the sand. I'm going to make sure it hits the Grelin Badlands so that we don't get any stark jump in texture. This means that while that Badland is still wet and we hit it with the Grelin Earth, they blend and mix together and form a really nice, natural, slightly inconsistent finish. It's really, really nice. It gives you a really nice, arid texture, and it's a joy to paint, and it's really, really easy to make this texture look good with minimal effort. So yeah, I'll just apply all this Grelin Earth all over the remaining black bits of the base. If you get it on the model, don't stress, you can wet another brush and gently scoop it away, and it shouldn't leave too much of a remainder on there by the time it comes to painting the model. Now the reason I'm doing this before we paint the model, before we even prime the model, is because when it comes to priming, the prime not only helps seal those textures and those paints in a little bit more on the base, it also means that when we apply our white zenithal, that base is then basically ready to start painting. So do this before we prime. Once it's all completely dry, leave it overnight ideally. We then prime our model as normal. I'm going to prime this guy black and then zenithal in with white. And then as I paint my model, when it's time to do the base, I can just start whacking colours down without having to worry about applying texture paint. And it's all ready to go and ready to contrast and speed paint up. Once that's all on there, use your thumb to whack away any excess or overspill on the rim. We don't like a chunky rim. It does not leave a very nice finish. There we go. Now we leave that to dry. So there we go, I left that to dry, and as you can see, it's got a really nice variant of texture. The Grelin Earth splitting, giving us a crackle, and the Grelin Badlands giving us that little bit more chunky texture. And here he is all primed, ready to go. So I'm going to paint this model before I do the base, but as you can see, we've got the shading on the underside of the model where the black is, and then if you look at it from the top down, we've got that really nice bright white, and that reflects on the base perfectly. So here he is. Here's one I prepared earlier. He's now all done and ready to have his base done. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint his base up now. It's dead easy. It's 3 basic colours. Let's crack a thumb. So Bony Matter and Pallid Bone, I'm going to mix these 1-to-1 on a palette. These are absolutely magnificent paints. And I'm literally just going to apply it all over our base. Make sure you get everywhere. You don't want any of that white showing through. Mix up a lot. I did the first initial on the palette, 5 drops of each. That got about 1/3 of the palette done, so do 10 drops each. do it in a little cup if you need to, just to make life easier. You could even apply them straight on the base and then mix them on the base as you're painting, just to have a little bit more of a nice variation in colour. But the two colours together are great. They make a really nice arid, dry colour that is good for bone and powders and stuff like that, but even better for sandy bases. And because our texture's already on there, it's picking up all those bits of sand, those rocks we put down with the cork, and it's flown into the recesses of our craggle paint. And there we go, I've left it to dry for about an hour, and it looks, as that, pretty freaking good if you ask me. But we're just going to pick this up a little bit and give it a bit more interest, and to do that we're going to dry brush it with new Iraqi Army sand from AK. So load it with brush, take the worst of it away, give it a good gentle tickle. Don't be too harsh on this, you don't want to chip away any of your texture. You just want this to pick up those nice edges and just add that little bit of brightness to it. Be sure to catch the rocks around his feet, catch a little bit of his feet so it looks like the dust and the muck is building up on his armour. But yeah, you don't need to go ham with this. You can if you want to brighten it up a little bit. But I always find with dry brushing, especially a bright colour like a bone colour, less is more. So give it some nice little tickles all over, go in multiple directions so you're picking everything out in different angles. And there you go, that is the colours of our base all done. Simples as. I do find when you're dry brushing rocky textures, using a long thin brush as opposed to a big flat dry brush gets you a nicer result. They're nice and easy to clean, and yeah, it just gets into all those places you need to. So I've added some dark coloured tufts, so the browns, the dark greens, the off yellows, and it's really finished this base off nicely. I painted the rim black, and there we go, we have our nice arid desert Orruk Megaboss trudging around in his big rusty dusty armour, ready to wallop face. There we are guys, thank you very, very much for watching. As always, your ongoing support is enormously appreciated. Stay tuned for more content coming. I'm extremely busy at the minute, but once I'm married and all the good stuff's done, it's going to be sick. Peace!